Welcome everybody. Blessed are those that visit this channel and enjoy the content here.
I want to rewind a bit because obviously I want to talk about the time period you've been in IGL, right? When you took over, when Alex left, right? Of all the players in the French scene, if I had to make a list of the ones that would become an IGL, like I already knew people like Shocks and MBK. I would have picked you almost last. I would have thought it's not really your game. I mean, to be fair, you've been around all the great IGLs, but I never thought this was the role you would take on. Did you actually want to do it? Like, what was the concept behind why you became the IGL? And was there a chance? Because people might know when you took over is actually when the initial period was really, really rough. Actually, early on, there's a lot of troubles. So, was there ever a moment you thought like maybe this isn't for me?
Well, I was thinking about that back then, but I wasn't ready mentally. The fun part is obviously I was into fragging, but I always been really interested in terms of tactics from source. From 2010, I'm looking at nades on servers and I'm trying to figure out about tactics. And also, the good thing is I had a lot of good game leaders in my career, obviously. And also, what I do want to be is like the worst part of them. Like existence at some point, he didn't listen to the guys, you know. So I just wanted to be like not being that. So just to answer your question, okay, Alex left the team. I was a bit of bench and because he wasn't feeling good at that moment, and he was feeling bad traveling that much because 19 was crazy in terms of traveling, and he didn't feel good and blah blah blah. So he got like a bench or retired. Whatever we call it, we don't really care. And Xtad came to me and he told me it's your time. And obviously me, I was reflecting about that. I had like 3 or 4 days I was reflecting and I was okay. I think if I have to do it, it's now. I give myself 6 months, but I also have the right people around me. I have Xtad, I have Matt as the assistant coach, and I also have the team that I think like ZywOo playing with EPIC. And Shocks was a bit harder, obviously, because the diva way. But I was okay. I'm fine doing starting with that, and also starting being in Glam leader with Young Gun, with Misuta, joining the team. So obviously it wasn't an easy decision because I didn't want to be like the other guys that try to be in game leader and just not being good and just keeping like doing it without thinking is it good or not for me. I was just telling myself, okay, I give myself 6 months. If it works well, I get better. I keep doing. Otherwise, I keep staying to be a player. And obviously, it worked for me, and it got good. But yeah, that wasn't easy. I remember the first week I became in game leader. I was like thinking of the way I wanted to play and blah blah blah. And for 1 week, I couldn't sleep before 7. No way I could sleep. I was in my bed, going on the left, thinking about strats, going on the right, thinking about strats. I was horrible. And but yeah, when I do something, I do it at 100%. And I took it as a goal and as a privilege, and I was ready to give everything. And I remember back then, like all the criticize I received in Twitter and social medias, like, you're not gonna succeed. I remember like 99% telling me that I'm not gonna succeed, and that was pretty fun because it's also what gave me a lot of strength. Like people telling me that I'm gonna fail. I'm like, okay, I will show you. I will show you that you're wrong, and I will do my best to make people wrong. And okay, 95% of the time it's working.
I mean, you know this, but we actually share a controversial opinion, which is at the end of 2020, the first like online year, obviously HLTV put Astralis as the #1 team, didn't they? Because they'd won the most tournaments, and obviously they'd had the cool story where they got all the players back from the bench, and then they were winning at the end of the year, and everyone was super hyped, etc. It was between you and them, basically. And Na'Vi was obviously like, if Simple dropped like 45 kills, maybe they could win the game. Like, everyone remembers what that team was like, right? The reason why our opinion is a bit controversial is because I'm not just doing it on titles. Like, I think actually the consistency of your team was unbelievable that year. Plus, even though this might not factor into other people, like, if people just knew, like, they had all fucking major winners in that team. You were working with, like, the Masuta angle. This was when Nevera would come in on certain maps and other maps, and it wouldn't have made sense to totally replace someone. But at the same time, he was adding something like, I actually think think like that was a fucking masterpiece what you pulled off that first year. So even though, look, I get no one will agree with us. They'll all say it was Astralis, right? That year, considering it started a bit dodgy, by the end it was fucking amazing. Like how did you do it? Because like I say, a lot of people would have just done the business. Like, either you just bring the Vera in fully. I can tell you it now, I don't think that would have worked, man. I think you would have been all right for a while. You would have had problems on certain maps. I think there's a reason why he didn't stick around. So give me some sense of how did you do it? Because let's be real, even if they don't agree they were number one, dude, all you need is one or two of those finals to go your way. There was so many times you were close.
Yes.
Like, what do you think of this time period?
I think this online era we lost 4 finals, I think, and won 2. So we did 6 finals overall. I think it'd been we also, it was the online era obviously, and that wasn't easy for a lot of teams. But us, we tried to create something different. We tried to. I remember like XTQZZZ did a fantastic job to get us together. All the bootcamp we went for the tournaments. So we went for bootcamp in tournament for bootcamp kinda, because it was online. The practice we did at home, and I think what helped me a lot is that I was like trusting a lot XTQZZZ as well, and we had a really good relationship, and we just got much better time after time, day after day, and I think I've been trying is just my approach. I didn't want to be existent. I didn't want to be Alex. I didn't want to be Happy. I didn't want to be these guys. I just wanted to be myself. And the way I was able to see CS. And what was my approach? Obviously, as an entry fragger, it was a fast approach, a bit like karrigan. I wasn't watching, like, I didn't take anyone as an example. I just told myself, okay, what do you think is good to play CS? So my way was to think about utilities. Okay, how can I use utility in the fast approach of CS, and also creating new strats that no one have done, like thing that's always above the meta, always one step ahead of the meta. And I tried that a lot and was watching a lot of demos, and I think I was really close to burnout in 2020 because I was giving so much. I was trying to give so much for the team, and with not being able to go out as well. I'm really like an energetic guy, and I needed like this thing to go out. But yeah, I think that overall, obviously, having the team I had was really helpful. The staff as well, Matt and Remy XTQZZZ, they both helped me so much to become the game leader I am today, and I started to be in 2020. But yeah, and obviously a lot of work, but also just for me it was really important to play my style, the way I wanted to play CS, and nothing else. Nothing that Shox wanted to do, or ZywOo or whoever. I mean, it was more Shox than anyone else. And also, I think that my idea, I remember saying that, and a lot of people in the French scene criticized me. I said that I didn't want to be the ZywOo show anymore. I wanted to be a team. I wanted to rely on a lot of people, and I wanted most likely to rely on my entry fraggers, because I knew that if my entry fraggers were put in good condition, not like me back in the days, we would have been able to win games just because of that. And I think ZywOo as refragger and as a clutcher, and Shox as well, would have been fantastic. So that was also my approach, putting the entry fraggers in the best condition with a lot of good utilities to be able to the old guns, I mean not old, but the clutch guys to clutch together. So sending EPIC and Mizota together with me, trying to make a lot of cow on the map, and putting the 2 others to be able to clutch. And I think they did like so many like 2v4, 2v5, and that was insane. But also it gave them a lot of confidence that we were able to play for them in some sense. And also EPIC is also this kind of player that you need to use him in certain condition. I think you give him like some objectives and some goals on the map, and if you give him that, he's fucking people up. I remember Banana, I was playing with him. It was so good because I gave him like few things. I say you do that, and that, and when he knows what he has to do, he performs well. And I think it was also for the first time in the French scene, we finally had a in-game leader that was also able to listen to the players. So obviously, like when EPIC had to tell me something, Dan, I think we do this wrong, or I think on this map is really tough for me. I was watching demo with him and say, okay, how can we get better for you? How can I help you to get better? Do I need to change the flash? Do I need to put more pressure on the left? And I listened to my players, because it's what I told you before. I think that was also the weakness of the 2 best in-game leader I had, in some sense. I mean, Happy was more like a straightforward, but I think Happy, Existence, and Alex was the 3 best in-game leader I had, and they were like not listening to any other people. They didn't like, they had their own idea, they wanted to follow it. And I think it's important, obviously, as in game leader to have your identity. It's so important. Every in game leader have their identity, the best ones. Like look at karrigan. I think it's telling to his teammates, don't overcall me. Just follow my plan, and maybe we see after. But on the time, you follow me, and that's so important as well. You need your identity, but after the game, you need to listen. Okay, it's not working then. This is shit. We shit on this. Okay, I agree. But what do we do now? And listening to the guys. And I think that's also been my strength to be able to do that. Most likely back then, but also now, because now I have like really different players with Magisk and Dupree and Spinks. And this guy need way more like freedom than any other players. So like finding this balance that is really tough as in game leader is something that I've been working all the time, because if you don't have that, you cannot be good, because you need the trust from your players, but you also need to trust them at the same time. So yeah, it just goes both way, and I think I've been doing good on terms of that, because I think I also took the experience as a player that sometimes I wanted to say something and I think it was good, and I said it, but my game leader were like, I know. So I was like, okay, fuck it. No, I'm not gonna say anything else. But obviously the team goes down and down, and I think Alex could have been like even more phenomenal if he listened a bit more to the players, because he had the right ideas. He was a really hardworking guy. But yeah, it's how it is.
Obviously, a theme of this interview, as people will see now, is that a lot of the French big personalities need things to sort of be set up around them, and then they can be this brilliant individual they are. So I actually have a question, which is, because he just won't do bloody interviews in English. Don't worry, I've tried, guys. XTaz, no one fucking knows him. And I'm the only nerd, apparently. I always make that joke that, like, if people actually go and read the, like, 1vp.fr, like, they tell you everything in the French scene. You just have to go and read the translated interview. But if you guys don't like to read, you're not going to know. So I go and read it, and I'm like, how does everyone not know this shit? It's all in there. But let me ask you this. Who is XTaz? Because here's the thing. I get the vibe he must also be in this vein, apEX, because when he got signed over to G2, like, look, when Carlos was still there, I was telling him, people, like, get LXCB, get, like, XTaz. These are the people to get. They're the best at their role. But I have to say, his team, I mean, it's even actually, if you don't know, Carlos is actually favourite team in real life. His team is like Real Madrid. Like, you see, they just signed the superstar player, and it's like, right, here's all the money, like, win or get the fuck out and you're fired, which is like the Real Madrid way, people know. Like, it's not like, you know, you build a team and a system, it's like, what do you want? So I got the vibe, like, I don't feel like that was the right environment for him. I can see why it didn't go well, but now everyone's forgotten about him. They all just think, oh, he must have failed. Maybe he just wasn't like, maybe he just had ZywOo or something. So, like you said, these teams in 2020, 2019 and 2021, these are totally different Vitality teams. There's ZywOo and there's you, but aside from that, pieces are moving around. The style's changing. It's on LAN, then it's online, then it's back to LAN again. What's this guy's philosophy on Counter-Strike? Who is XTaz?
Well, XTaz is the guy I finally found in my after more than 10 years playing Counter-Strike. I finally found a guy that was thinking the same as me in terms of work ethic. First of all, he's a really, like, he used to be a caster on the French scene, and he was casting for ESL. So he was following every games, but he's really like a hardworking guy. So he wasn't just only casting, but he was really smart at casting. And I remember I listened to him a lot back then when we were G2. So I was listening to him. I was like, okay, this guy knows about CS. So I remember that I was APK, and my idea to pick him up in Vitality. And when he arrived, what I think is one of ZywOo and him are the two guys that helped the French scene to last that long. Otherwise, we'll have been international for way before. And what he brings to the team, he brings like a group. First of all, we lacked a fucking coach that gives a group of people being ready to play together, being honest to help towards like the defense we had. He had to deal a lot of problems, like between first of all between NBK and Alex, then between Alex and Shocks, and he had to deal with that all the time, doing like the social guy, like again, okay, what's going on? You need to talk together and blah blah blah. Something we lacked a lot in the French scene, and he was really good at helping to create a group of people. And I think that's one of the first important thing if you want to perform, most likely when you speak the same language. Then in terms of he was also like really good at like zonic, preparing the games, and we were really good together at preparing for the games. And also I think he wanted to create the philosophy of CS. I mean, he let me to have our identity, but always telling me, I think you should play a bit more there, or giving me inputs and blah blah blah. And yeah, I think that it's pretty sad that he didn't work in G2, but I think for several reasons. I think maybe his English wasn't good enough to be able to do it with an international team back then. So going to G2 was from going to Vitality to G2 without like learning too much English. He tried to do it because he knew he had to do, but he couldn't do it because not enough time. So obviously, I think it was pretty tough for him to create that and give ideas to his in-game leader. I know that with Alexib didn't work pretty well together. They didn't have the same philosophy and blah blah blah. I think it worked better with Zuxi, but also we need to okay, with Remy you need to follow him. You need to trust him and follow him. And if you don't do that, I think it's not working that well. And that's what I've been doing from day one with him. I was doing my shit, but we had a lot of talks together about how to play CS and how to react in a lot of things. And I think he's making it like a way to play and a way to do things, and you need to follow that. And I don't think in G2, for example, they exactly follow that. They didn't follow the plan. He had a plan, for example, a plan how to not how to play CS exactly, because I had to do that myself, but in terms of like preparing and we have to follow. And I think I see a lot of things, similar thing between him and Zonic. Like Zonic is a fantastic coach if you follow him. If you don't follow his plan, obviously it's not going to work. And I think that's what happened with Xtaz. I think with other dubs for the 3 years he did in Vitality, he was a top 3 coach in the world with him and Blade with other dubs. I have no doubt about that. But being a good coach also is not only about yourself, is also creating a relationship with the in-game leader. And if you don't have that, and I think he didn't have that too much in G2, it's not going to work. And I think that I saw that now he wants to come back to coaching. And what he will look first is to have this like really strong identity and relationship with the in-game leader. And then I think we will see Xtaz in a top 5 team without a doubt, because yeah, he is a fantastic coach, and he's done so much on the French scene. He's done so much in general, and he's been just a pleasure for me to work with him, and he learned me a lot of things. And I'm also here. I just won a major. Also, he's part of that because he helped me to grow and became the in-game leader I am today.
Just as the 2020 lineup is a bit underrated, the 2021 one, people know towards the end of the year you won the IEM and you had a couple of like seconds and you were good on LAN. But I feel like the moment, surely at the major when you were down 0-2, if you just fucking go out there, you lose any of those 3 series, it's over. Like, there wouldn't have been the quarters, whereas you say, you actually probably played Na'Vi the closest out of everyone. Like, I don't give a fuck that Nico missed that Deagle shot. They were going to lose on Mirage anyway, you idiots. Like, if you were following Counter-Strike, they wouldn't have been a team. Like, probably even should have been heroic playing that far. But you gave them a good match there. Then, of every LAN after that, you basically were the second best team. The problem is Na'Vi won all the tournaments except the one they didn't attend, so it didn't get a chance to show it. But people have to remember again the lineup. Without flaming them, Kyojin was a rookie. He barely ever played fucking LANs before. He was struggling. Masuta, this was his first, it wasn't even a year, the first few months of playing tier 1 LANs. You can't expect these people. This is why the online era warped everyone's minds. It made them think all the online people would just be just as good on LAN. It's like, there's a warm-up time. You even saw it with Gambit and Rogue. It took them a while to get going. So with this run at the end of that year, like, it seems like everything turned around. Like, if you did just bombed out of that major, doesn't it just collapse in on itself? Doesn't the team just fucking die, basically?
I think that wasn't easy for us to play with Kyojin at the beginning, because he was a rookie and he didn't know shit about CS, let's be honest. And back then also with the COVID and blah, 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 Vitality had no fun, and we tried to find the new guy. And okay, it didn't work out, but I think, as you said, I think we've been a really good team. And unfortunately, at the major, we faced Na'Vi in quarter. And maybe if we didn't face them in quarter or semi, we would have go to the final and probably lose, because they were the best team at that time. Without the problem, they were better than us, and we never beat them. I think we had like a record of 0-7 against them in best of 3 on LAN, or something close to that in 2021.
You beat them at the World Final, whatever, I think, but yeah, that was it. You won against. Was that the one? Yeah, I know you beat them on Nuke.
Yeah, we beat them on Nuke on the last final. Only Nuke.
Ah, right,
But we
okay,
lost them
there
in
you go.
final. We
Oh,
fought
so
the
Rourke
win
that beat them.
streak.
Yes, okay, that's right. Okay, fair
Yeah,
enough.
yeah. So unfortunately we didn't beat them on LAN, and it was pretty tough for us because I was just feeling that at that time I could do the best goal, but they did a triple kill and we didn't have like good enough team players. I think with EPIK maybe, if EPIK would have stayed in Vitality and would have done what he did in 2020, we'll have been a contender for 2021. We'll have maybe win tournaments and doing like a lot of things, maybe be a contender at the major. But without him, without the experience he had and blah, 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 I think, I will be honest, I think I'm really proud of winning one tournament with the lineup we had. I'm really proud of going like to final against Navi and losing 2-1 by winning Nuke, the best map winning streak 18 or something. And that wasn't easy, and there was a lot of like trouble in this team. But once again, I think Xstars was also a big part of like this, like coming back together, because the beginning with Kyojin was really chaotic. It was online, but also at Cologne 2021, it was pretty chaotic to play, and we lost to Navi, and then we lost to I don't remember who. I don't remember who, but we lost like into
FaZe, apparently.
FaZe, yeah. So yeah, that wasn't easy, and but yeah, once again, those guys have more experience than us, and we tried to. We said that in August when we came back from player break, we said, guys, maybe like Vitality were talking already about maybe going international. So we said we need no regrets. We need to give everything, and everyone gave their best, even though the lineup was pretty poor. And I think, of course, you have ZywOo and Shox, and also Mizuta sometimes stepped up. But I think in terms of individuals, I think we had one of the worst lineup in the top 10 at that time. And like in terms of pure individual, but we had a really big strength that we were playing really well together. We had a really good team play, and we had good strats and good things on maps. So we were able to do good thing against like the top tier teams. Not winning against Navi, but winning against G2 sometime, winning against other teams. Was never easy, but yeah, we did it. And yeah, we were able to finish the year on a high note with the 3 last event, with the last dance. That's the real last dance. And but that was pretty fun to like end this chapter with this French team, because it was like a special one in some sense with the 2 young guns. And yeah, that was good.
By the way, just so we can get it off the table, and we'll see what you think, maybe you disagree, right? One of the takes I always thought was a bit of a pleb take when fans said it was when G2 and Vitality paid all this money to bring in the Astralis players, and Alexi B came into G2, and then came Monacy, and all these big players changed, because the 2 teams never quite were delivering what they were supposed to. They weren't like deep in the major, they weren't winning the big titles. All the fans would just go, they should have just kept the lineups from the previous year, which to me is like, bro, I give mad props to the coaches, the players in those, like, I think they got the most you could ever get out of those teams. Like, but when people say that, like, you should have just kept the old Vitality line. What would you say to that?
I totally agree with you. With the French lineup in 2022, we would have been even worse than yeah. I don't think we did good at all in 2022, but with the French team, maybe same. We were really shit in 2022. Let's be honest. But yeah, the level like just stepped up a lot in 2022, and a lot of team came in, like Gambit, Cloud9 now, and Heroic, and also now sometimes FaZe. Obviously, I mean FaZe without a doubt, Navi. So everyone like stepped up, and yeah, with the French team, it will never have worked. I'm sure of that, and that's a sure thing. That's just a sure thing. Also with their lineup with Jackson Amanek and Nexa, I don't think it will have worked either. So yeah, people need to know that, because it's not about, you can't like say, okay, we should have kept Fnatic in 2023 as well when they won the 3 major with Pronex and Olaf Meister. Obviously, it wouldn't work because it's really different ages.
Yes. Right. One thing I wanted to ask was, when the initial Astralis players came over with Zonic, like, I even heard that had been like something that was going around for months before. Like, there was different teams talking to them. Would they go here? Would they go there? And obviously people will forget, like, these were 2 of the players that actually in theory weren't bad in Astralis. Like, some of the other ones lost their game a bit, and some of them, well, we won't mention names, but people know who I'm talking about. These were the players, like Magisk was still really good, and he even done a bit of IGLing. Dupree was always a solid player, always. People always respected Zonic's, man. The problem is this though, when you make big signings like that, And like we're saying, your team was like second best at the end of the year. People expect you have to be number one. Like, in fact, if you're bringing people to win majors, you're supposed to win the majors now. In fact, there's even a thing you might not know, but it's true. If you ever look in the history of the majors, right, when teams win, if those players go to other teams, they don't ever win majors. Actually, Dupree and Magisk are the first to do it and like go to a different team and win a major again. So people even had this like superstition, like you shouldn't do it. Like you should look for the next player that'll win the major. So on the one side, like you have crazy expectations, but also it wasn't delivering initially, right? When this first happened, did you ever panic? Did you ever think like, I mean, there's a world, remember, because this isn't a French team where if things go really bad, maybe they just fire you. Maybe suddenly fucking, maybe Snappy's in your spot or some other fucking guy comes, Alexi B or so, I don't know, could be. Were you ever worried like, it's supposed to be working, we're supposed to be winning already?
Obviously, when you lose, I think I was doing my best, even though we lost and we didn't play good. But yeah, I think that when they arrive, everyone expected us to do way better. And as you said, when you finish as the second best team in the world in 2021, they expect you to be the best team in the world after that. But it's not that easy. And I don't think it was my fault or anyone's fault. It was just like, it was our first international team for everyone. And I repeat that in a lot in interviews, but when you have such a two really big scene as Denmark and France, mixing them up with really experienced player, it's really tough. Because you have, the Danish way to think CS and the French way to think CS was so much different. So obviously at the beginning, we tried totally my way to talk, to call. Didn't work out. So then we tried a mix and didn't work out, more blah, blah. It was a fucking mess. And people, they need to know that, like, of course, FaZe have been like phenomenal in 2022, but all the players have been playing international team forever. It was easy for them, except Twist maybe, but all the rest, like karrigan has been calling international team for 2017. Rain was playing international team forever, for 2015 probably. Robs, same from the beginning. He's in the international. He's playing there, and also those players. They didn't have a way to play CS except individually. They didn't have a team way to play CS. Magisk played with Astralis for 4 years. Dupree played with the same team for 7 years, 8 years. You need to think about that. Like changing from one team to another was like the most difficult thing I ever had to do in CS. That was the most difficult thing ever. Like to be able to be on the same pitch. And it took us 1 year. 1 year to be able to figure it out. And I'm happy this 2022 year happened because we learned so much from that. We learned so much from being like not understanding each other. Like people not understand. And I'm not going to lie, they would have put any other in-game leader. They would have been the same. Not because in-game leader I was bad or player were bad, just because it's really tough to find a balance together. Even Zonic didn't know what to do back then. He didn't know how to deal with. And after doing all those mistakes together, when we arrived to 2023, we had a setup plan in the way we wanted to play, and the way we acted to work together, and the freedom we needed, and blah blah blah. And then also me understanding more the Danes, and the Danes more understanding me as in-game leader. But that was whoa, what a mess! Whoa, imagine in 1 year of tournaments, we did 2 playoff. What the fuck? It's the worst year I ever had. I think no, the worst year is 16, but 2022 is just behind. Top 9 in the world at the end of the year on national TV, and it was deserved. We did deserve better. But when I saw that, like my 3 years in Vitality was top 3. I always been top 3 in the world at the end of the year, and there, you're top 9. I was like, no way it's gonna happen twice. No way, we cannot do that. But yeah, I think this approach was so tough. Like finding the right balance between, like we can see that on all the internal roster that are working, it's never been with a really experienced player from like one country that's been like the way we did it, like the mix we had was the toughest we could do. Not be obviously people will not be will disagree because we had really experienced players that won majors, but that's not about that. That's just about playing well together and finding a way to play together. Something we never had for such a long time. But yeah, as I said, that was like the biggest work I had to do in my whole life. At some point last year, I was clueless. I was going in front of my computer. I was watching the screen. I was like, I don't know what to do. I have no clue. I don't have the answer right now. I didn't have any answer. But then with time and with doing a lot of mistakes, it got better.
I want to talk a bit about Zonic. So because it's your language, I'm going to use some more football analogies for you here, right? Sure. So I'm going to use the analogy of Pep Guardiola, obviously the famous coach of Barcelona. Then he was in the Bundesliga, and now obviously with Man City in the Premier League, right? If you're one of these coaches, right, I noticed there's a trend with football coaches that when they really like certain players, they try and even get, like Mourinho did this a million times. You just bring them to the next team you're in, or you bring them from another team in the past, and it doesn't even matter if they seem washed at that point in time. You just know how to use them and what they're going to do, and it's more the idea, like, he gets my system already. Like, I'm not teaching him. And I always thought for someone like Guardiola, I actually have mad props for him that he left Barcelona, because normally what you should do if you just want an easy career is stay at that one team, because already you've got, like, you built the respect from winning, and then everyone in the team knows your style. Even if you have to change players, you do it like one or two at a time. And it's like Zonic when he stayed in Astralis. You could just keep replicating and going back to the top again and winning, right? But if you actually go to a totally different team, totally different region, different players, and then you have to work with them. I mean, we saw in this Man City team, they had amazing players, but they had this whole thing with, like, he didn't have a proper striker, and they just had like a million fucking midfielders that rotated in that, and he had to play a different style of football. It wasn't just what he did 10 years ago that he won with. So I feel like with Zonic, to even leave Astralis for a non-Danish team, already he's gambling a lot there. Like, if he'd have failed, by the way, people, like now, this whole conversation where even though Glaive has 4 majors, because karrigan won the most recent one, he's done all his accomplishments recently, people are building the narrative like he's better than Glaive. And if you Glaive, unless you can come back and win now, that story just he keeps taking up like this, and you're going back in and getting forgotten about. So if you're Zonic, like, there's a world where if this team had completely failed, like you were saying last year, people now would start to go, was he really the greatest? You know, maybe he had Device and he had, you know, he had Glaive, but when he had the other players, you know, he was just whatever. In fact, he wasn't even as good as ex-Staz would be the logic, even though it's like the same fucking team. So it feels like for him to adapt, and look, I get why he'd do his system. Once upon his time, his system was the best in the world, but he doesn't have all the Astralis players is the problem, right? He has a couple, and even then, Dupree isn't the Dupree of Astralis. So give me some thoughts. What did he have to change? What did he have to learn? What was the style that originally came to you, and how did it get tweaked?
So, yeah, obviously, it wasn't easy for him as well, and it was a big gamble for him. I mean, I will be honest, I knew that Zonic had better offers than Vitality in terms of money. But he chose Vitality because he really believed, like, having ZywOo in the team is a big help to win tournaments again, obviously. And he knew that with this team he could have done something with, like, most likely back then the lineup we had. Obviously it didn't work out, but yeah. So as you said, I think for him the first year was like he was also he didn't know what to do at some point. He wanted to do his style, but also something that really didn't help him. It was the loss of his mom was something really big that happened to him. And I think for him, for a few months he wasn't there. He was there, but wasn't there, if you know what I mean. He was mentally not there, and he was really close to his mom, and that was like really painful for him. I remember that it was really tough for him to come back, and he had a lot of trouble to do that. And when he wanted to come, obviously time came, and it was pretty tough for him to adapt to everything. And we didn't have a proper lurker, so with Mizota, so it was pretty a big mess. But whenever we started 2023, I remember at the end of 2022 we had a talk, and we had a talk together, and I was really honest with him. That's I was feeling that he wasn't like the coach he should be, and he wasn't like punchy enough with some of the players. He wasn't like doing enough. Like it wasn't. And we have like really two good coach in some sense, and we needed a villain. You know, we needed a guy that has been bad to the players and like sometimes screaming to the guys when they don't play enough or they don't give enough, and also is like we call him a work alcoholic, because he loved to work a lot. And in the 2022, we didn't have enough time off. And I think what we don't realize with CS is that it's really tough mentally sometimes to play a tournament and travel and blah, blah, blah. And I think if you don't have the proper like rest, it's pretty bullshit. You can work how much you want. If you don't have the proper rest, it's not going to work. And I think he understood that. And he's also, I think, like really good coach and big personalities that have doing performance. They also need to listen to the guys around them. and he listened also in the way that we needed more time. And I think this year we already have like 2 times 2 a week off because we need it, because we also had like a way to work and blah blah blah. And I think that from this year he also came with a really big plan in the way that he wanted us to work together. And also I did way more talk with me in the way that, because it was easy with Glaive together. They understood each other, and they also had like, I think, I will be honest, and they also saying that also the level was way worse back then. Who was able to beat them? Also, when you create an era, it's tough to beat. But look at FaZe, they were winning a lot of tournaments in 22, but they had the finals they did were crazy.
Oh, for sure.
It wasn't easy.
Yes.
Most of like win like the majors from Astralis, pretty easy as well. I mean, they were they were above every teams. They were above every team. So we also had to work in different way and even work harder than before. And also was the same for Magisk and Dreamhack. They always had like they didn't work that much and it was working. So changing for them to work way more was also a big challenge, because for them it always been working. For Magisk from 2018 to 2021 was easy most of the time. You know, I have to do extra work. I have to work as everyone and doing these things. So I think that Zonic came. We had from 2023 we started having a really good relation as well together, because as I said, I think duo are really important. And when you're in game leader and the coach, you need to be one voice at some point for the team. Because if the players feel that you don't agree together, it's pretty fucked up. They like, okay, if even the game leader, the coach don't agree together, it's not gonna work. So we also build this relationship together, like and also like his approach of the game he's really like he's really thinking about the small thing that needs to get better at some point, like the small gimmicks that need to be better, and pushing also the players all the time, and not being able to rest himself. And without the doubt, he is the GOAT coach, and now he proved it. He proved it because he won with a different lineup, a major, and but we know we had a week off after the major because we didn't go to Dallas. So and now today I know he's been working the week. He's been watching all the games, and I think he's really like one of a kind in terms of also like the guy is the guy behind everything. There is the coach, but the guy is, you know, we could see how much like with the emotion when we won, how much it meant for him to be able to win with another lineup, and all the work he's been doing. So he's just a fantastic coach, and I'm just speechless about like because when you're a coach and you won 4 majors, it's not that easy to listen to in game leader. It's not that one like not a major with as in game leader. You want to take over, but he also wanted to understand me and understand the way I wanted to work and the way I wanted to play, and yeah, he is both a really good tactical coach and really good like human coach, I would say. He's been doing fantastic with us, and I could talk about enough time, but also the way he built 2023 in terms of like the strategic plan and the work we had to do, and we couldn't have a better 2022 3 years in terms of like just getting better through the year, just to get this Paris major.
Let me tie together 2 pieces of information from different stories, right? Because when I did an interview a couple of years ago with Yanko, and I asked about that period when in FaZe Clan, Nico was the in-game leader. And I remember just thinking, like, this almost never works in Counter-Strike, especially because he was like fragging and he was the in-game leader. And obviously Yanko was like the ultimate Nico defender. So he would never say that he just wasn't a good in-game leader. But he did come up with, I thought, was a very interesting point. He said, I think Nico's calls were very good. But the problem is when you call in your second language and all the players at second language English, no one's like first language is the one you're talking in. He said the right call a second late can become the wrong call. And one of the things that made me think about it was an interview you did at this major where you were saying that the old style obviously was more Astralis style, which if people don't know was like the reason it was very slow was because they were like the best comms and the best fucking lurk players in the game. So obviously they're just killing everyone in the mid round. Like you can't rotate into them. Like Magisk or fucking Device or wherever they want on the map, killing everyone. Like it was a nightmare. But when they tried it in your team, it just didn't work. It just wasn't a very effective style. And you were saying that you actually think international teams, it makes more sense to play fast and always be doing something on the map. Because it's right, if you look at FaZe, they are doing that all the time. In fact, I'd even say if people saw FaZe's problems in the last tournament, it's actually that people sometimes didn't trust those calls, it looked like. Like sometimes I'd see karrigan go through on his own and then they didn't follow him up, or Rops is lurking, but he's like happy. You're just lurking forever, mate. You never do the backstab. They're already taking over the site. You're saving a gun. You never saw someone. So the downside is it's all well and good to say play fast, but you have to totally trust that style if you do it, right?
Yes.
That's the problem. Everyone has to really believe the call and just go for it.
Yes. No, but it's totally right. I think when you're an international team, playing slow is not possible. We try that. We try to play really slow and we're having the best and execute, and we wanted to have the best communication. But obviously, when it's your second language, the communication will not be perfect. And it's also the way we were playing with Vitality at the end of 2021. We had also this really slow approach with like a really good team play and blah blah blah. But it wasn't possible. I tried with the international team. It wasn't working because communication is such a key thing in CS. But you need to make chaos and try to create new things and play faster, because then the communication gets easier because you create a lot of chaos, and then you play on your strength like 3v3s or blah and blah blah blah. But playing slow all the time, that's not possible. That's not possible. And when you can see that Heroic are doing it as well, and Navi, but it's normal. They speak their own language. But without that, I think that we never seen like an international team playing good by playing slow. Look at also ENVYUs. They're a good example. I think ENVYUs is too much though. You know, they don't have that's what I like with FaZe. I think they're able to play slow as well. Not all the time, but they're able to play slow. I feel like ENVYUs, it's pretty tough for them to play slow. And that always been like their weakness. But at playing fast, bro, they're so annoying to play against. It's just day in day face in day face. And look at Game of Legend. It's the run they did at the major. Do you think they play slow? They don't give a fuck, mate. They just run through a smoke and just run everywhere, because you need to create this chaos style with the international team. And I understood that also later, not at the beginning. I understood that later that we needed to play fast with experience and with also not watching strat, but watching why also international team are working. Why some team are working. And then I saw a pattern that team are playing fast. So I was like, okay, I'm fine with that. I just need my whole team to get behind me and be ready. And also having Dupree being this entry fragger, more dedicated, that when you have to run either him or me, you need to take the space for the others. Most likely when you have this play style. I'm not like too much like karrigan, because I would say that I have more aggressive player than he has. So I need also to adapt to that, because, for example, ZywOo is able to entry frag and he's not playing AWP 24/7 like other AWP players. And Magisk is really aggressive as well. So what I was thinking that I had to take a step back myself as being less entry fragger and more support player with nades, to have those guys that likes to take duels and like to entry more, to be able to entry frag. And yeah, it's been working well since we've done that, because people they have to think well less about like pairing the perfect CS and having the best communication, and no, just go in, refrag each other, trying to create chaos on the map, trying to be in your opponent head, and that's it. And just play with your balls and run into the bomb site, and I think that's the best way to have an international team. And that's why also I think right now we never had like that many international team in the top 20, because also all the team started to play like that. They started to play a bit more like loose in some point. And yeah, I think it's the key for international team. I wish I would see like international team playing slow. I will be the first fan, to be honest.
Let me give people some background for this question, right? They might have seen just before the major that apEX out of nowhere just flamed some people in the French scene. Because what's funny is you have to realise all the people who don't know me and you know each other, they were all thinking like you're like going to come and flame me next if I say like Vitality's not good. But they don't know the backstory again because they don't read the fucking websites, which is in the French scene, right? First of all, like all scenes in like French in CS or football or Spanish in football or fucking League of Legends, the fans are fucking crazy. Like if you win in there, they love you, you ride with you. If you lose once, everyone needs to be fired. You're all trash. Like everyone except ZywOo or whatever their favorite players. He's maybe allowed to be okay, but the rest of you are all trash. And people were saying to you about you the whole time, especially the international team, you should be fired. You're garbage. You're not a good in-game leader. So I know that it was based on more than just that. It wasn't just like a one tweet that set you off. That was like in English you say the straw that broke the camel's back. You know, it's like it doesn't matter. It seemed like a small thing. I get why this was, but if people don't know, like, I get why you did that line where you said after the match, like, fuck you, because if you think I'm not a good in-game leader or whatever, because let me lay the story out. Like, you had the 2020 lineup where you weren't even supposed to be the in-game leader. And as I said, by the end, you could make a case it was the best team in the online era. Dude, every other great leader pretty much just had the excuse in the online era of, like, it's online, it's shit, isn't it? They're all fucking randoms with the Coca-Cola sat in the chair. Like, you can't beat them. Like, everyone else got an excuse. We all gave karrigan a pass. He was allowed to just chill for like a year, then come back when it was lands. And we were like, oh, no problem, we'll forget about that karrigan. That never happened, that one. Then you obviously had the 2021 where the team's actually, like we say, it's a pretty rough roster on paper. And at the end of the year, you have them as one of the better land teams. 2022 was bad, but pretty swear, when a bad year still involves winning a trophy, that's not too terrible, is it? And then this year, you've won the 2 trophies in a row, you've won a major, and you've done it with an international lineup. Only karrigan had done that before. Essentially, apEX must be one of the best in-game leaders in the world, right?
Well, I'm never gonna say that, but I always believe that I was up there, and you know, I when I look at in-game leaders, there are not a lot of in-game leaders that impress me when I play against them or I'm watching them. When I feel like, okay, this is smart, or I like the way they play, or blah blah blah, and I always had a lot of confidence in my strength about reading the game. So obviously, once again, as you said, it was really important for me to get this out, this frustration about like people understeering me. Once again, when you have ZywOo, and the fun part with that is that, okay, Magisk and Dupree have been like fantastic players, but they're thinking that I had the 2018-19 Magisk and Dupree
Yes.
in 2022.
Yes.
No, I didn't have them, and they will be honest. It's true, I didn't have them. Of course, I had ZywOo, and of course I had Spinks, but Spinks also wasn't the end player. So, but everything is my fault, and I'm fine with that. But you know, I also it's what's going on with a lot of in-game leaders and players in general. When you're an in-game leader and your team is doing bad, you're the worst in the world. But when your team is doing good, it's because of ZywOo. He's been fantastic in this tournament.
Yes,
a classic one. But I'm fine with that. The most important thing for me has been that my team have been following me, and whatever happened, and they've been behind me, and then if they believe that I was still at the level, that was fine for me. It meant that I've done a great job. And obviously, sometimes you want to answer it on Twitter or blah blah to Nel, for example, or to whoever I answer to, because it's frustrating to hear that people, they don't understand shit. But whenever it's working, then they licking your ass, and that's the fun part. And so right now, obviously, I'm enjoying that, and it feels really good. But yeah, I think it's been a really good like achievement for me to be able to win a major after 8 years of waiting, almost after Dreamhack Cluj-Napoca, being a player that the only player that's been winning a major 7 years and a half after. Also, like who did like being just a normal player and become like really good in game leader. I think like Glaive did that, but he didn't have a career before
exactly,
that.
Yeah.
I had a whole career. I win maybe 15 trophies being just a player. But then I also won as in-game leader, and it just proved that I'm also like up there with a lot of players and a lot of in-game leaders, and it just feels good to be there. And just once again, it just comes back to make people wrong as well. I love to prove them that I will be able to do it. And it's not because I just won my second major that I've done, and it's gonna happen again. Maybe I will have it done. And also, karrigan is the best example about that. He's been like kicked from teams, and like people thought he was done, but no, he's never done. And he's done that thing that no one has done, and it's been like really good to see that. And I just enjoy those stories. I just enjoy those guys because I think we kind of the same players, and in terms of like we really hardworking people, and I really like love the stories about people hardworking that are coming back and just make people wrong. Like when he was kicked by FaZe, like everyone thought that he was the worst garbage in the world, and blah blah blah. He won with mouse. He won with mouse tournaments, and who would have believed that? Of course, he had like really good Frozen and Robs, but he created that.
Yep.
When your star players are playing good, you need to fucking give credit to the in-game leader. He is there for something. He creates a really good like out for everyone to feel good in it. And then coming back to FaZe is like the end of the story for him. In some point, because he's done what he deserved. But yeah, I just love that, and I think that at some point I have a close story like him, and it just feels so good to be able to have that, because I've been working my ass off for so long, and being able to see that hard work pays off is something that is just the best thing in the world.
I mean, I would say the similar scenario for you. Like, it's almost like the ending of the movie. Look, the career isn't over, but if this was like movie one, like it's like you say, so many years since you won before, you've changed role. Even the championships you won, like unfortunately, the ones that you won when you were in the first version of Vitality in 2019, those were like the smaller or the medium tournaments. Then when you had the 2021, it was the IM Winter, which like just in a fucking studio, isn't it? Then you had the Pro League one, which was another like studio one. This is the major, and it's in France. Like, that's like if there's a movie, that's the end of the fucking first movie. That'd be the best possible ending, right?
Yeah. I mean, the storyline is crazy. That's what I told my boss, because obviously the majors for Vitality haven't been good. We did like only 2 playoffs before in Berlin and Stockholm. But I told him, look, didn't we won just the best one, just the one that we could have traded any other one for this one if we didn't win this one, because being able to win at home in front of the families, in front of the fans, and yeah, I could have. I mean, it could have been like crazy for me to say, guys, I won. It's over for me, and would have been the end of the story, as I said, the end of the movie, and one of the best thriller we have up there. But I'm not done yet, and I just love Counter-Strike way too much. But yeah, as you said, I think it could have been a really ending of the movie at some point.
You already referenced it earlier, but the other thing I feel about the Vitality team is this is where like narratives just, if they, I mean, look, I've done a lot of this work myself because I've built up the narratives on the channel, etc. But sometimes narratives like take on a life of their own. And even when they don't match reality, they just stay forever. So for example, like people might even think you're just the pure entry fragger now. Like they might still think it's like 6 years ago. So I think in your team, right, when they see that you've got Dupree, they think, another entry fragger. He must always just only be the entry fragger. They look at different players. They must play like Astralis style. One of the things about your team I think is amazing is how you've been able to use Magisk, because to me, he was the only player the whole time that seemed really stable. Like, he just seems like his performance level never drops. Yes. And again, like you said, people think of Magisk, they think of CT, and he just holds a bomb site and he kills 3 people. Dude, it's the T side where he has crazy impact. Like, holy fuck, this guy, like, he's like one of those people who has a wall hack or something in his brain. Like, he just knows where they always are. He's always catching people off his time, and when they go in, it's actually his AK is pretty fucking sick as well. It's not just his M4. And then, like you say, people still think ZywOo is just like on simple duty where it's like, give me up every round. It's like, no, like actually he on T side, he's like AK's half the game, and he definitely gets way more opening kills than people would expect. He's not lurking at the back killing 3 people. He's going in with the pack. So the way you've used these players, I thought was very interesting. Give me some thoughts on the Magisk, like how you've been able to use him as a player, because I feel like even though if you're in one of the greatest teams ever and you've been a Files MVP, I don't know if you can truly be underrated, but I feel almost like now he is. Like, people don't realise because he doesn't have like the star numbers. Mate, his impact looks crazy.
Yeah, as you said, I think it was maybe the best T-side player of the tournament. I saw it when you said it in Twitter during the major. I checked that, but I think what changed a lot with Magisk is Magisk is a really hardworking guy as well, in terms of like small gimmicks and blah blah blah. But the weakness he had was same as Dupree. I think that they were doing things alone all the time, and if they didn't have this like extra like kill, they would have died. And I was like pretty like tired of that, like being 3v5 or 5v4 all the 4v5 all the time, because they try to get something. So what I try to implement in terms of Magisk is like he likes to take duels as well. He's like Spinks. is like duelist. He loves duel so much. So I needed to create something around him. So just don't go alone when you're lurking on B. If you want to do something, just call the team with you. And that's something that they didn't used to have together. For him, it wasn't normal to bring the team with him. It was just, okay, I'm gonna take my timing, I'm gonna take my duel, and that's it. And Magisk is also like a really good player in terms of he knows to do a lot of things. He's really good with nades. One of the best I ever play with. He's really good with entry fragging, just going around and just taking duels. He's really good in late round as well. And it's just really good to rely on a player like him. And I think right now what's going on is that he showed me that I think when you're a player, you need trust from your in-game leader and vice versa. So it's really important and it goes both ways. And what Magisk did from the beginning of the year, the way he worked and blah, 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 also he stepped up massively because he played more individually this year than last year. And it showed it on the server. Like, as you said, I remember that you said something about me that I was really good in Refragger because of my first bullet accuracy. And I think that's what Magisk is right now. It's so instant. It's like, oh, at the major, when I watched the demos again, I was watching the T side, but people had no chance against him. That's it. And I think creating something around him in some runs help him. And also having rules, what I expect from him. Because it's funny, even though this guy won 3 majors, if you don't give him rules, he will do like crazy things like that are not going to work. And that's something I didn't think about it at the beginning. I thought that, okay, I have Dupree and Magisk. I will not have to take care of them. But at the end of the day, that's the people I needed the more to take care of them. And I needed to implement them in a system that's, okay, having like rules on every map on T side for Magisk. Okay, if you have a good feeling, go for it. But otherwise, ask for people. Just play with the team. Ask for nades, ask for help. I think Magisk's weakness for a long time was that he didn't ask for help. So he was just believing, but just by himself, he's gonna do a 3 kill all the time. But people in CS right now are too good. You cannot rely only on that. So knows that he feels that he has the team, and we can support him and we can help him go together, and he just have like full confidence. And as you said, I think it's crazy how good it can be. As you said, the consistency of the guy has been phenomenal. If I have to pick one player in terms of just pure consistency for the last 5 years, I think he has to be him. Yeah. He has to be him. He's been flashy sometimes, but not too much. But when you need him, on Vertigo, we had some struggle against Into the Breach because they were playing fantastic good. But I remember one run, he said, okay, let's pick B. I said, okay, let's go together towards B. He does three entries like this. And then people, the opponents start adopting. But I no credit for me this round. I just said, let's go together. That's all I said. And him just killing 3 guys like this. And I think in terms of consistency, it's been like super good. And yeah, also you need to adapt. Talking about ZywOo, for example, you need to adapt your style when the guy. I never ask him. Sometimes I ask him to play AWP a bit on some T side, but otherwise he's full freedom. But then I need to adapt to that because I can't get bullied by the city AWP. For example, I mean, some AVPs can just bully us because they know ZywOo doesn't have AVP. And that's what's going on sometimes, even on our city side. But we need to adapt to that. On Nuke, for example, lately I feel a bit abused outside because ZywOo wasn't there too much with me and most likely with his rifle. So obviously the AWP is coming to me because he knows that there is no AWPer. But yeah, it's just about like creating a way that you can play with him with AWP, but you can also play him with a rifle, for example. But ZywOo is also like you don't have too much to tell him. I think back then it was more like that. I think we changed position again where they put me with ZywOo because I'm really good at using him. But no, I didn't have much to say. He's just doing things by himself and like moving a lot on the map. I think Simple and Device were one of the first guys doing that all the time. Was really annoying to play against them because you never know where they are. And when they do 1 kill, are they going to switch or are they going to stay? Or those things. And then you're so unpredictable with the open. You people are so scared everywhere. They're using nades, so then you know where you go and blah blah blah. So for me, it was more like for ZywOo, it's not like telling him, oh, you need to use your mouse like that and kill people, but just the way he was moving around the map and helping him, like doing more aggressive things when he had to. And example, in the final against Game of Legend, we 11-7 down or something like that on the city side. And I say, bro, I don't say it like that, but I say, bro, play aggressive outside now. We need you. And he does a triple kill, not dying. And that's also his strength, I think, as a player. That I think that he is able to do everything, but you need to push him sometimes because he knows his strengths, but I would say not enough.
One thing I would say about people who, for me, like obviously in-game leader is more like coach in football to me, like in terms of your job. If people notice, the greatest coaches of all time in football usually aren't the star player. Like, it's actually really rare that someone like Zidane has all this success. Usually it's someone who was just like a fucking boring defender or just like defensive midfielder. Yes. And the reason why, if people don't get it, is because the star thinks too much of themselves. They have to, like, their whole mindset's like, I've got to score and I've got to do this way and give me the ball and then I do this. And that doesn't work very well when you work with lesser players, making teams. I feel like you embody this, surely, because in your teams, you were either like in teams where you have to set up like some superstar player, or in this case as an entry, you even know what like some of the like contributing players need from the team. You've worked with all the different in-game leaders or different styles of play. Like, it sounds like your whole philosophy, which is a great one. It's actually what karrigan's is, if people don't know. It's like, my job isn't like I'm like existence, like I'm the genius. Like, everyone, if you do what I say, we will win because I'm a genius. Which, look, if that works, it's brilliant. It's its own personality. Your style sounds more like I'm trying to get the best out of my players. These players I have here, how can I make each one of them as best as possible? And at the end, this is what I think karrigan's going to do a great job of. At the end, I'm going to have the 0.85 stats, and everyone's going to go, you just won because you had all those players. But at the end of the day, it's like I always tell them, as long as you're lifting the trophy, who gives a fuck what they say, right?
Exactly. No, but it's true. I mean, it's always been my strength to put my star player, even though I wasn't game leader. When I was just a player, I was able to put ZywOo in the best condition, and also, for example, Kenyas. And that's what I told you earlier in the interview, that Kenyas told me that your biggest strength is not like being a good in game leader or whatever. It's just to put your player in the best condition. And I think that's key. Most likely in the team the team I have right now. In the other team, it was a bit different because the players were a bit worse, obviously. But when you have Spinks, Thooorin, Magisk, and ZywOo in the same team, obviously you need to put yourself on the side. And most likely when you're in game leader, I know I can still be good, and I think I showed it in few times in the major or even in Rio. But my main goal is not me to perform. So my goal on some maps is just to be the full support for the whole team. And if I had to, for example, in the good strategies, when you have 8 flashes, I'm not entry fragging, I'm throwing the flashes. Sure. But when you have to entry frag, when it's a mess and you have to go through a smoke with 1 flash, it's me going first. And that's why, because I know that if ZywOo is going third and killing 3 people, we might win the round. So it's all about, I think that's, you don't have a lot of people that are really good with that, being able to use their player at their best. I think, yeah, as you said, karrigan is one of them, but then I don't see many other in-game leader being able to do that. When I'm thinking, I don't. I think, for example, in Astralis, it was more like an easy way to do it. People were like more aligned than like someone just setting up people. But yeah, I think karrigan is really good at that, and I think that's what I see sometimes. I think that's we saw an interview from Config about the major, when he said that we trust more the playing book than the players. And I think when you have players like Config, you need to use him in the right way. And I don't think it's easy, because the guy has a lot of character and it's not easy to deal with. But I think it's part of the job, and it's so important in anything you do to put the guys in the best performance, in the best position to perform. And if you do that, I think you're perfect. And that's why I always love karrigan. Yes, karrigan always been really good at that. And also, yeah, he had like also like really good players to do that. For example, I'm a really big fan of Twist. I think Twist is such an underrated piece of FaZe, because he doesn't have the best roles, but he still delivers, and he doesn't give a fuck, because, as you said, the most important for him at the end is not. It's just to lift a trophy. And but I think this guy could be like a star rifler like Nico is, because I think in terms of pure aim, is the best in the world, in my opinion. In terms of like just cross replacement and being able to be sharp and headshot. Bro, I checked so many highlights from him. It's pretty insane, to be honest. But he doesn't care. For example, on Dust 2, it was this guy lurking long and being passive and doesn't have to do much. But imagine if he was like Nico-ish in like the map control and taking the map control. He will be like god tier player without a doubt. And it's also like, I think it's also having those players that are ready to put themselves on the side. Like, for example, Dupree right now in my team, or even Magisk, they both realize they're not in Astralis anymore and they have to put themselves on the side for Spinks and ZywOo, but they can still perform at some point. They will have less big numbers than them, but it's fine. It's all good. And when you have a team that you make them understand that, I think it's way easier. And whenever, for example, Dupree understood that, he become better like this because he didn't think about being. When you be, as you said, when you've been a really like big star in your teams and you've done something crazy, like Dupree, also one of the best rifler of all time and being one of the best entry fragger and the best aggressive player. But when he saw himself at less than 1 rating, for him it wasn't normal. And he wanted him to get back to that. And we tried to, the coaching staff tried to tell him that he is not the Dupree from Astralis anymore. It's not like that anymore. And he has a different role, a hardest role, but he need to he's gonna be good not by doing frags, but by doing something else sometimes. By taking the space for the others or those kind of stuff. And when you understand that you need to give your ass at some point for your teammates, it works much better. And I think that's what the team also understood the most, is that we have roles and some stars some guys will do better numbers than the others, but at the end, who won 5 majors in CSGO history is only one player. And that's all we will remember. Not that he's been less good in Vitality. Obviously, some really like good guys that have really good memory will remember that. But most of people, they will just remember that Dupree has won 5 majors. That's it.
At the end of the interview, do you have a final message? Anyone you'll thank or shout out?
No. It's always a pleasure. I think we always do more than 2 hours together because we have a lot of things to talk about. But no, it's a pleasure for me to do this interview, and I hope that people will like it because I try to give a lot of insights. I think I might do, in the end of my career, I have way more insight, and we could do like a 10 hours interview without a doubt. Like we could do a book without a doubt. But yeah, for now it's enough, and I just hope you enjoyed, and thanks for doing this interview. It's always nice to talk together.
Merci beaucoup.
De rien.
Where I come from in England, people will often say, oh yeah, you and whose army? Well, I'll tell you what, I've got my own army backing me up. They're called the Skrilluminati. Thank you to Ahmed Haju, Joseph Adcock, Matt Pugnaccio-Racula, Theogony, Animosity, Bot Pounder 420, Jensen Gore, Tobias Bernasconi, Tosh, Toucan, and as always, you know it, a special thanks goes out to my boy Jerky's Minion. Do you want to suggest a topic or a guest for my content? You want teasers? Find out who's in the upcoming interviews. Do you want to ask me a question in my monthly AMA? Maybe you want to be part of those long discussions where we talk about anything and everything in esports. Well, if so, put your money where your mouth is and enlist today in the Skrilluminati via the Patreon link in the box below.